So, hey folks, what's up? Yeah, you all wanted to know how to crack Azure certification exams, as and we got the response from many of the person that we want to start, or how can we start learning the things and how can we appear for the certification exams. So we heard your request, and earlier also we conducted a session with Santosh sir, on which sir delivered a very nice session on how to crack AZ 900. It was specifically meant for AZ 900 session, and today we are having with our expert mentor who is already 6x Microsoft certified, a Microsoft certified trainer, and also Azure developer lead and multi-face personality. So he is going to be the one of the best candidate or one of the best mentor, I must say, to deliver the talk on the topic that how to ace Azure certification exams, any of the Azure certification exams in one go. So let's start with the session. Over to you, sir.
Great. We did waste a couple of minutes, so we'll just try it in. We can share the slides. We can start. Cool. So today, what we'll do is we'll just see how to. It is not the first go. It can be all the certifications that I have cleared is the first go, the first attempt. So many people have tried it. I'll also tell few of the failure stories that I have. Few of them have reported back to me that they weren't able to clear. They were just having 690 somewhere around that. So a couple of people even went that close to get certified for AZ 900. So we'll tell about all those stories and stuff where you can just see how what extent people have went and what are the things that they are doing. So that could be a little bit challenging to understand, but yeah, just have an open mind and start working. So let's skip this part. So what we'll see today is very simple. So why you need certification in the first place. So that is something that really important, or that is the one of the important factor that keeps people going, or keeps someone going to pursue the certification or learn the stuff. And we also see what are the resources that we have. So I think there is only one, I would say, and some of the strategies that you guys can follow. And as far as I have seen from all these years, couple of years into the certification and the part, and I have seen a lot of people getting certified. So I'll tell a few of the stories there, and I'll also talk about the importance of hands-on. Have to do something, so not just read the docs, just have that knowledge. So that is not enough. And finally, I'll also tell how I prepare for these exams. Okay, the first part is certification. So why you need it, right? So why think you need a certification? So what is the purpose of getting certified? So the first and foremost question is why, right? And then you have couple of other questions. What is the credibility that I have, or what is the scope that that gives me? So all these questions come up. All these different questions you might have, various other questions of what would be my expertise level after getting certified. So all these questions will answer later. So the first question is why you need a certification in the first place. So it is just to recognize, or it is just a validation. No, it is kind of validating you to give you something that, hey, let's say that this guy knows something on, so that this is given to him as a token of recognition. So that is all about why you need certification, and what is certification in the first place, and why you need to have a certification. So let's say you have, so the importance of this comes when you appear for maybe roles in inside or outside your organization. First thing would be the resume screening. Anyways, when you share your resume, they would also ask you what are the certifications that you have, or you can willingly share those certifications and highlight in some way so that the recruiter can see. Or there are certain roles which require certification, since it has been predominant and we have made tons of videos and there are ton of communities. We have Microsoft Reactor, we do also have, as part of Azure developer community, we have 100 videos or more than that. and a number of boot camps that we have organized, and we'll be doing keep doing that for the years to come. So all these knowledge, all these stuff that is out there, they also need someone with uh, certain skills, and they want to validate them before they are taking into the project, or they want to have some kind of filtration. Anyway, they need some kind of way that, to say that this guy is better than this guy. So to make that distinguish between these two people or any n number of people, you need a certification, or you need something additional. It is not just certification, it could be something else as well. So you need something, or it might be a hackathon win, or it could be freelancing projects that you have done, or it could be certification. So anything that is different, or it is not. Now, since this has been a really tough question to answer, so now anyone, everybody is doing freelancing work. When I started, I didn't know that you can do all these and earn some money and as well as learn something. So the first thing I did for freelancing is not just for money. I just said, I want to kind of do this. I can do that for free. I just want to know what is happening. So that was the first step to kind of start there. And for certifications, I didn't really focus on to get certified. So again, my focus was to kind of develop my expertise around Azure. If you ask me, what are the services that you have built, I have a portfolio of projects that you can see on my GitHub to kind of acknowledge that this guy has done something. So not just getting 6 certifications or 10 certifications, or all the certifications that Azure gives. That doesn't really put you in a great spot. So let's say you have 10, 15 certifications. I know people who have them. I've seen it on LinkedIn post. So if you have those many, the first question comes is why this guy has taken so many. Like, there should be a place where I stopped with 6. So why 6? I think that is something. All the areas that I am good at, I got certified. So I often got a associate level certification in Power Platform, but again, at least I have a fundamentals knowledge on Power Platform, and I have built a couple of projects around that, which eventually won me a, Surface Go to. So obviously, having a good knowledge on the technical aspect and doing something is really important than having all the certifications, or being certified with stuff. So it also has to have a balance. You don't have to say that, oh, okay, so we Santosh, you say that certification is not really important, then I can just have some projects and stuff. But the problem is that if it is a project, someone has to manually check or verify if you have done that, or what are the things that you have done. Again, there is a myth of if you do a project, you're good. If you're doing a hackathon, when you're good. So you should also verify that how good the project is, or how good the code is. So you just need to see the underlying stuff, not just what is shining out there, what is the news out there, or what is the post that they have done. Just go to their GitHub repo. What are the things that they have done? How well the code is written, and how much is written, and what are the functionalities that they have used, or how good the code quality is. So that is what is important for a well developed or mature developer, is that attitude. Just to have a couple of wins, certifications, it doesn't matter. So what you do is you kind of show that you have some kind of a maturity in the development field. So it is not just for your other parts in life, it is also that you should show some level of maturity in your code, in how you write test case, unit test, and how you approach a problem, how you brainstorm with people. So all these are really important to kind of know that, okay, this is something that I have done, so I can take up similar work, or I can move into something else. So that is something you should really understand, how well you can perform, and it by for yourself, right? If someone is winning in a hackathon, they know that what is the kind of effort that they have put in. And if they have put in a real effort, since I have seen it in front of me, there was this hackathon where I was part of it was a 4 day, I think it was a 4 day or 3 day hackathon. So for the first day, the final day, where they gave out project wins. So one guy showed me this pic where they presented the same project, and they won some prize which was published on a newspaper. So what happens is they have submitted the same project for this one, and they have also won, right? So what happens here is you can't just build something. You can just build the same thing. Now, if they have improved something, it is fine. They haven't even changed the title, so I don't want to tell the names or the title or what is the project is all about. But I have seen this kind of attitude when I was participating in hackathons. So these things do happen. So it is not just they don't cheat anywhere. They are being too honest. It is up to them to decide how good they want to be. But at least to, again, it comes to the maturity of how the development work is done, or the maturity of developers. In the first place, don't just go for certification just because someone is telling you. Try to understand what kind of value it gives you. So these are the values that I have seen personally. There could be different values that I haven't seen, or there might be places where you can see different people sharing about how their certification journey. Since these certifications have started, I guess 3 4 years back. So it is like predominant with all these people, new grads, just fresh out of college. So that is when the certifications have started. Even before that, I have never seen people. They say I do heard of CCNA. So those Cisco networking site certifications are really valid, and the fact of that is it has only few people to crack it. So it is a really hard one, and you also need to score high marks. I think it is 80%, and it is also tough. So what that brings to the table is what is their actual knowledge on the certification, but not just using things to clear the exam, but what is the actual knowledge. So I would see I would like to see that there could be a hands-on lab for any kind of certification that you take in, so that the certification is more of honorable thing than just to have like a badge in your profile. So that kind of makes or gives an additional credibility to the product itself, to the Azure, and as well as for the person who is receiving it. So they know that this is hard to crack, and they consider that as a good achievement. So not just that anyone can do it. So that is something that they can do, but I'm not sure why they are not doing it. But again, it is up to them to decide. But what I want to focus you on is why you need it, and these are the things that you should be aware of just before jumping into the certificate. So if you're watching it for the first time, or if you're hearing about certifications for the first time, it might be a bit scary to just say that you don't need a certification. Or if someone has already got have received couple of certifications, or attempting for a certification next month or this month. Now, these are the things that you should know before attempting any of that. And coming to the resources part, so this is the only good resource, or this is the only source where all the other whatever materials that you see out there, or whatever uh, the things that you see, the blogs that they write, all these things are derived from the docs of Microsoft. So this is the single source of truth where you can find if this doc says this is right, and that is right. That is how they validate you even for the certification. So if the docs say this is wrong, this is absolutely wrong. So there is no way that that could be a controversy. But again, that could be there could be few questions which can be of a bit difficult to understand, or there could be a place or a few questions would be ambiguous to understand. And even I have faced couple of questions or more questions when it comes to if you prepare for multiple certifications, right? If you have attempted multiple certifications, the problem that happens is you kind of mix up few of the things. So if there is a question of related to Power Apps where they ask about Azure functions, or if they ask about uh, app service, or how do you integrate an API with Power Apps. So you should think from a Power Apps perspective and not from EAC 900 or other certifications which focus on the core services. So that is something that you should be mindful of while you are attempting the certification. If you are attempting multiple certifications, so let's say if you're taking up AC 900, and if you're going with AC 900 is fine, you won't have these experiences. But if you're going, if you're branching out, so AC 900, you go for AI 900, DP 900, and then PL 900. So if you branch out all these way, it is a bit difficult to kind of cope up with all these stuff that you have to keep in mind while attempting the certification. So these could confuse you a lot when you take up the certification. So resources, as I said, this is the only resource or only good resource that you can find. So if you read through, you have a complete learning path. So every trainer, goes through the same docs. All these, whatever is in the docs that you see, whatever you see on this URL is the only resource that everybody uses. Everybody inside Microsoft, outside Microsoft, everybody refers to this docs only. So there's nothing else apart from this they kind of refer. Great. So with that said, what should be the strategy? So coming to the important aspect of the talk. So the first thing that I did, I didn't know about being certified or what is the value of being certified when I started with Azure. So my journey started in 2019, where I attended this week of AI 2.0. It is a Microsoft. It is like a virtual conference. That is something that I haven't expected. I just registered for it, and they had like 3 day or 4 day or 5 day, I guess. So 5 day would be a virtual conference where they talk about Microsoft services, Azure services, and all whatnot. And what happened is they have a quiz at the end of every session. So if it is a 45-minute session, they have a 15 minutes quiz. So they have only five handful of questions. So it is not too much that you have to bang your head to find out the answer. It is just five simple questions, and you have time for every question. I think it is 10 seconds or something like that. So you have to answer it in that particular space. So I didn't answer that. I didn't know that I won it. So they gave out coupons to the top 500 people who have scored on that particular quiz, whatever quiz they have organized for all the 5 days. I'm not sure on what is the criteria, but again, I assume that that was the criteria of giving out certificate. It stated that it is given to top 500 people who have participated in the quiz. So that announcement came out. Then I scheduled an exam on April, I guess, April 2020, AC 900, or it is AI. Yeah, okay, it is AI 900, I guess. So it was an associate level certification. So I didn't have any of the Azure experience back then. I then started what is Azure and why really it is used, and what are the places or what are the companies that they have started using it, or what establishments they have already with the companies. So that is something that I started with. So I started from hands-on to the certification. So it is not that I focused on certification, then I went to hands-on. So I did build couple of things before that in the 1 year time frame. So my first certification came on March 2021. So before that, I even won a hackathon for Microsoft using Microsoft services with Python. So that is something that I really wanted to do. I don't want to have these certifications. So all these certifications that I have done, it is like a free coupon. So I haven't paid anything to get all these certifications. Even with Azure Developer Stories, that is something that they have been doing for a couple of years. They have skipped it this year. Not sure why. And even Azure developer community, we are giving out certification coupons, or if you answer quizzes at the end of boot camp on every Friday. We have it on our Discord channel. Make sure you join our Discord channel, which is in the description. So that is something that you can expect to have someone who has hands-on experience, then moving into Azure. So if you're on the other flip side, if you're doing the certification first and if you're preparing for a certification, then that is a different story altogether. So you haven't never touched on, you have never opened a portal, portal.azure.com, you have never touched it, and you don't know how to create a service and how to deploy stuff. So all these things are really important to understand Azure better. So just by reading stuff, if your chemistry practicals were just reading stuff, now how to titrate, if you just read, it is difficult to titrate, right? If the knob is not tight enough, the drops might increase, or it might fall off. So those are the things that you wouldn't see or you wouldn't know if you just read stuff. So since I can, you guys can relate to it, I am just taking a titration example, so I'm pretty good at titrations. So just want to say that if you're practicing stuff, and then if that is fine if you don't get the results. Now have the method that you use, have you hold stuff, have you close it, have you open the knob, all these things matter. So in the same way, your hands-on experience, or in the way that you know deploy stuff, what is the networking that you do, how, what is VNet, and do you enable security features, all these things really matter when you want to deploy something for a production level application. But if you're someone who wants to just have a certification, absolutely fine, go ahead, and you can definitely take up a certification, no one is stopping you. But the knowledge of someone who has practically seen things would be really high, or their knowledge would be high. uh, their knowledge of understanding would be high on Azure. It is not like you can memorize stuff. If you just ask SLAs of different services, they might be able to tell. But if they want to choose between two services, they could be they would not be in a comfortable position to answer those questions. So that is something that you guys can develop while you're starting out. So that is really important. And I think I have spoken about time scheduling. You can definitely do in whatever time you want. So I did have Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So I just prepared on Saturdays and Sundays. I just used to write down important points. If you just go through the docs, just read through it. Um, don't just force yourself to learn. Have a notebook. Just write down what are the important things for each and every module that you have seen, so that you can revise it easier. So all these technology, all if you want to use a screen to read, it is difficult. If you want to have a notebook in your hand as a physical one, and then you can turn through pages a lot faster than you can skip through all these slides. So it is also not good to kind of learn stuff from every time from the screen reading. So that is something important. And the final piece would be focusing on one area. So even I didn't do this part very well. As you see, I did branch out a lot. I went for AI 900, then AI 100. Uh, Sorry, I didn't go for AI 100. So I did aim for AI 900 and AI 100 at the first place. As I said, the first certification that I want to do, but I forgot that particular date of the exam. Then that they wouldn't be able to kind of reschedule stuff. So that is something that I did. I forgot the day of the exam. Like nothing. I used to have an reminder of such sort, where it kind of reminds me on what is the thing that they have to do. But they didn't remind it after a week, since I rescheduled it couple of times earlier. I think that was the fact that they haven't sent me a reminder, and I didn't even send a reminder to it. Cool. That is a different story altogether. But just try to focus on one area. If you want to go with, let's say, I want to be a data scientist, just go through those three certifications. So, data scientist, if you want to really do that stuff, just go with AZ 900. Then you take up PI 900, then you go for DP 100. So this is the roadmap for a data scientist. Don't just jump right into DP 100. I know people who do that, since it is not just you can take any certification. It is not just with whatever skill that you have. You can take up any certification. It is not a hierarchy that you have to go through all these things. So you have to clear AC 900, then you have to go to AI 100, AI 900, and then you have to go to DB 100. So that is something that you can decide what you want to do, but focus on one part first. So if you want to be a data scientist, go with that. If you want to be a data engineer, go with that. Don't just fuse everything. You can do it. I am in that kind of a state now, but you can fuse things together. You can have expertise in various fields, but you won't be having a deeper knowledge. I would be really honest here. You wouldn't be having deeper knowledge on anything, right? If let's say if there is a problem, but you can develop stuff, that is for sure. I have developed stuff in all the certifications that I have done, so that is not a big deal. So if you want to have a real time experience, or if you, let's say, if you want to work on a real project, then that could be harder. So the projects that you do and the real time work that comes through is way different. So way different than what you do in your hackathons, what you do in your pet projects, or all these things are really different from what it is asked, or what is the kind of difficulty that you would face in maybe deploying something in a production. If you have stayed late night and saw production go on, or if you have deployed a code and just start praying that nothing breaks during a release. So that is something that you should be mindful of. You won't be mindful of that when you're doing your pet projects or hackathons, since nobody is going to ask you if something fails, or nothing is going to be lost if you fail. But if a production releases that is failed, or if your code breaks out in the middle, then that is a serious thing, since it kind of affects others work. uh, you know of course the clients, the company reputation and everything goes out, since it is a client facing thing. And if, let's say, if Facebook is out tomorrow, then how would the engineers, or the engineer, if some intern is going in and he kind of writes a code and pushes to the release, and it is not just there, his piece of code that would run. There is also other people contributing to it. So if his code breaks, then the entire stuff breaks down. So if there is an exception, or if that piece of code is really important to that particular workflow, then that if that piece fails, then obviously the entire stuff fails. So that could be one of the difficult things that you have to go through if you're not really careful. Okay. So I think I have spoken about all these things earlier. Importance to understand more on why you need a certification, and importance to how you understand stuff is really important. And the third point is really important. So just to see how things work. Right? So everybody talks about load balancer, and everybody knows how Kubernetes is deployed and pods and stuff they talk about. But let's say if you want to spin up that and deploy some random stuff, random code, that takes time. Right? When you talk about it, it is easy. It is pretty easy that you can do it. And if you want to just explain, just a second. Okay, cool. So if you want to just explain of how you want to do things, it is pretty easy. Let's say if you talk about Kubernetes, for example, most people do talk. But if you want to just deploy and see, maybe just one instance of it, just try to deploy a code, and you will face a number of stuff. Config file is matching, and all these things are not working. This thing is not there. Configure, you have to import from the environment. You don't have to hard code it. All these things come up when once you deploy a simple application. So these are the experience that you should gather, rather than having a practical, or rather than having a theoretical knowledge of just going through the docs. So that is something that I really want to emphasize on. When you have all these certifications, or if you want to just have it, it is not a big deal. But if you really want to improve your expertise, if you really want to show that I can do this thing, and they can't tell that, right? So if someone is having all these certifications just for the sake of having it, they wouldn't be able to say that I can do this thing if you ask a question. So that is something you can definitely see through people. So we'll just wrap it up really quick. So I think I have talked about this earlier. How I prepared and cracked certification. So what I used to do is, as I said, go through the docs module by module. Just go through it. Ease your mind and then go through all the docs. It is not just you have to learn this as a semester exam. It is coming tomorrow or the same week. Just no, don't need to rush up things. Just take your time. It might be 1 month, it can be 2 months. Just make sure that you understand what are the things that are asked in the exam, so that it is easy for you to understand the complete stuff rather than just focusing on one particular topic or one particular thing. Let's say if you mastered Azure functions, you should also learn about other things which is related to the serverless stuff. For an example, Power Automate, you can learn about that, or you can also learn about Logic Apps, which is also a serverless component of serverless service that Azure provides. So all these things you should have a knowledge. So let's say if someone is asking you, "Hey Sandy, I want to deploy this. Would you recommend using a Logic app, or would you recommend using a Azure function?" So you should be able to answer that simple question. So that is something that you should definitely see through. That is really important. And the first attempt, it is not. No, I wouldn't be really happy by clearing all this in the first attempt. But if you put your effort, if you just I think I have devoted the entire month, or Saturdays and Sundays, is not weekdays, I do something different. Every Saturday and Sunday, nothing else. Just sit in front, go through the docs, write the notes down, do the same thing for 3 weeks. Then you might cover the entire docs, all the learning paths, and you are good to go. So I did that because I had already the knowledge of deploying stuff. So let's say if someone is asking me, if I talk about inference clusters or attached compute, for all these things, I do have some kind of a knowledge, or I have seen that in the designer, ML designer. So that is easier to understand when they say you can choose inference cluster for model deployment, and using it as an endpoint, you can send data and then get the prediction back. So if there is a sentence of that sort, and if you're not sure where the inference cluster is and from where to choose it, it is you will have a hard time. So if you know stuff where it is, when it would come up, that is really important to understand rather than just going through the theoretical part. So just make sure you kind of have some kind of a hands-on. For AZ900, you don't have to have a huge hands-on experience, but at least just go through what the portal looks like. You don't have to really have an access. Just through go through some of the couple of hands-on videos that people make, where they go through all these services and how to make a service or how to create one. So that could also help. You don't have to really get a certificate. Sorry, you don't have to really get a subscription. Azure subscription you have to pay, or you can, if you're a student, you can use student Azure for students. There is a free pass for 1 year. You have $100 credit, and that is something that you can definitely use. So we'll have 5 minutes for questions. So if there is any, or else we are good to close.
So this was a really very informative, and you covered all the topics from very basics to a very good level. I don't think anyone is having any kind of doubt. And let's wait for a minute. If someone is having any kind of doubt, you can directly put them in the live chat, and sir will be more than happy to help you with. So can you please tell one thing, like you have told that we must. I just wanted to ask that, is it possible, or will you recommend that we must do some kind of hands-on, and then only we should appear for the certification exams or something like that?
Okay, so that is something that I really recommend people doing. Just have some kind of a knowledge on how things work. You don't have to really deploy in a production scale, just to see how things work in practical. So since I told about titration example, so if we see that reading stuff is really different from how you do it in practical. So every the bureau won't be perfect. It would leak, it might leak. Now, all these stuff you will learn only by doing hands-on. You can't just learn all these things. How to handle that is important. It is not just if you write all the code and if you just give it to it and then it will deploy and you will get the output. No, you will definitely not. So all these experiences that you would get, so why you need the experience in the first place? So when you face a similar problem when you're doing inside a project, or if you're working for a organization, or if you're in an important role, then that is really important. So you can't just have some kind of a theoretical knowledge and get inside and do things, so it won't work. So highly recommend you do it, but it is not mandatory that you need some kind of hands-on experience to crack the exam. So cracking the exam is something different, and have gathering knowledge is something different. So you can do it in either way, even without gathering knowledge. So that is something I really recommend.
Exactly, exactly. I have personally, with my personal experience, I would like to add on to this that there are some exams like fundamental exams where, as you already mentioned, we can go with the knowledge and we can appear and score a good marks in that. But if we go to some kind of certifications where it is really required that you have very very means very conceptual knowledge of what's happening. Let me give you an example of like AZ 104, Azure Certified Administrator. So I have personally experienced that they're grabbing the things, or you're just learning that this happens will not so much be beneficial. We must have a practical knowledge that how and where can we just put the things. uh, so that's all. And guys, if you want any kind of community support and anything, you can please join our Discord server. And every Friday we conduct a quiz. This Friday also we had a quiz on AI 900, the boot camp which was delivered by Santosh sir only. And sir, the students were really very happy by the thing that all the questions which we gave in the quiz, they were easily able to answer the things and all that stuff because you taught so nicely. So thank you once again for joining us this time as well. And we hope to see you again, once again, for I think this time a tough boot camp. So you can really explain the things in a much better way, and students can get a lot of benefit from that. And let's see when our mentor gets a little time, and then he'll surely come up with the new session. Till then, stay tuned. And if you have any kind of other queries, feel free to connect with the mentor on our Discord server, or you can personally connect with the mentor on LinkedIn as well. So whenever he'll be free, he'll be clearing all your doubts if possible. And otherwise, Discord is always open. Post your doubt. If not Santosh sir, then some other experienced person will definitely guide you, and your problem will be solved very soon. So till then, thank you guys. See you very soon in the next session. Thank you very much, sir, for coming here and delivering another amazing session or amazing talk on how to clear. This was a real demand of the student, or the you can say community, which you realized and you prepared the things. We are highly obliged. Thank you, sir. Thank you, audience. Let's
Pleasure to
meet
be.
once again with another session. Till then, stay safe, stay happy, and happy learning.